Hi everyone, it's Tim Walsh here from Confidential Tax and Business Services, and today we're starting a new podcast series on behalf of the Valley Chamber of Commerce. This is the second episode, a Meet the Member podcast series. What I'll be doing is asking a series of interesting questions and finding out about what makes the members and the people in the area tick. The guest that we have on the podcast today is none other than Carrie Payne from Business Depot Legal. Welcome along, Carrie.
Thanks, Tim. Thanks so much.
Okay. I guess give us a bit of your elevator pitch. Introduce yourself and tell the audience a bit about you and what problems you solve. Yeah.
I got given the name a couple of years ago by an advisor who called me an estate planning Jedi, and I've just taken that terminology and I've run with it because I think it's so great. I'm a bit of a Star Wars nerd myself. Estate planning is really my jam. There's a couple of things that go alongside that though, getting to do estate administration, helping people through some of those difficult times when something happens to someone, but doing business structures as well. The structuring and then moving things from here to there is really an exciting area to be in as well. At Business Depot, we are really focused on being the one place for business. So we are really fortunate to get the opportunity to do a lot of that style of work.
So basically, one-stop shop to solve all the business, problems needs. To be honest.
I think we still like to keep the families separate. We work with a lot of external teams, even though there is, for example, an accounting practice that sits alongside the legal practice. We still work externally with accountants. The accountants don't have to work internally with us as lawyers. They've got other lawyers they refer work out to. It's more so just that if someone wants to come in, we've got the people and the skills to be able to help them wherever they need that.
Excellent. So can you tell me any challenges that you're sort of facing in what you do in business?
Yeah, I think there's a really big culture shock coming for the legal industry in general on a couple of different fronts. I think we've seen the head of it come up recently about that was about harassment for women in the workplace, in the legal workplace. I think it's more an internal cultural approach. No longer do people want to sit at their desks for 18 hours a day. I think people are trying to find that work-life balance a lot more. So I think that as the years progress, that sort of culture of having to do those extended hours is going to die off, and they're going to have to find a way to resource that better. The other thing which I'm quite passionate about as well is the technology industry. So law tends to be, because of the use of time billing, they tend to focus on the longer it takes you to do something, the better the outcome for the lawyer. But with the introduction of technology into legal systems, I think that's going to have to start to change dramatically the way that people approach pricing.
Hey, what's the best advice you can give a young professional in your industry making their way through the starting phase of their career?
I've got a couple of bits here. They're not too long, and I sort of thought, do I say this one? But if you can last the first 2 years as a lawyer, you'll be fine. I think the first 2 years is really tough because you do tend to work. The work load is increased exponentially. You do feel a little bit inadequate because you're constantly being told what you're not doing right. It is a really steep learning curve. Lawyers aren't people's best friends. So you do feel a lot of those horrible calls from people when somebody's upset with something, that sort of thing. So if you can make those first 2 years and you can keep your head up, keep focused, that's probably the most important thing. The biggest thing I would say to someone that is just about to start looking for jobs in the legal industry, when they're in that sort of still going through university phase, is the sooner you can get your foot in the door, the better. Unfortunately, it tends to be not what you know, but who you know in the legal industry. It's still quite nepotistic here. So I think that if you can get into a practice early, establish, show them your work ethic, those sorts of things, that's the best answer I can give for what they can do to progress.
Who is the most important mentor in your life?
I had to think about this one, Tim, and I think I probably got different mentors for different things because I really pride myself in taking some guidance from this really powerful pack of people I've got around me. my life mentor is probably my grandmother, my mum's mum. She's incredibly hardworking, incredibly intelligent, very forward-thinking for her age, so healthy. She's 90 and she still goes to the gym.
Wow.
And she cooks her own books. She's very, 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 very much the model for a person, very kind, very generous. In terms of my particular mentor for work, Tim knows quite well a colleague of ours, Tara Lukey, who I look up to Tara. She's actually younger than me, but she is just such a breath of fresh air in law, and particularly for women in law. So I look up to Tara. There's a couple of other women, again, Michelle Sheehan, who is a practitioner in my area of law, who her professionalism, her attention to detail, and the way she is happy to share knowledge is just amazing. So,
excellent. What's one thing left to do on your bucket list not yet accomplished?
Oh, I really want to go on one of those car racing strips. You can go around and the chance to illegally drive at ridiculous speeds.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it, but it would scare the snot out of me. But I think the adrenaline rush would be insane. So I think that I've got a mechanical mind at heart. So the cars, while they don't necessarily, I drive a Ford Focus, so I'm not driving a really expensive hopped up car, but the mechanical process of cars is quite interesting.
Excellent. What do you like the most about living in Brisbane?
So I've been living in Brisbane permanently as an adult for about 11 years, maybe 11 years. And I went to boarding school here in Brisbane, but I'm from Roma originally. The thing I really like about Brisbane is, and it's one of its statements, it's the most livable city. It really is. It's such a lovely place to live. I feel really safe. I live in a really great suburb where, I could probably walk out of my house and leave my house unlocked and nothing would ever happen. I know my neighbours. It's so easy to get to places compared to other cities. It doesn't take you 600 hours to get there. I think Brisbane's probably going to have an expansion problem at some point, and traffic might build up, which might be the less livable side of it if that happens in the future. But we've got the best of both worlds. We're on the East Coast. We've got two of the most beautiful stretches, beaches either side of us. We've got the hub of getting to be, we've got the best international airport in the world, in my opinion. So we really are the great place to be.
What's the biggest lesson you've learned on your career journey so far?
I think learning to be patient with yourself. A lot of people in professional service industries tend to be quite perfectionists, for lack of a better phrase, and we're always looking for ways to do things right. But I think in that process it can create lots of stress for yourself. I think you've got to give yourself that bit of a break and accept that everything's a learning exercise in life, and that whole concept of the Socratic method of learning, that when you do something wrong you actually learn better than when you do it right. I think that only works though in the context of the mistakes that you're making don't actually have implications for people that are real. So I think that focusing on rather than creating the stress around perfectionism, actually enjoying the process of finding out the right answer is probably what I would suggest.
And finally, what have you, changed the most about your life since COVID-19 began?
This is really funny, Tim. I've actually started sleeping in. I know that sounds really nothing for someone, but I was not a morning person for many years. My first boss will tell you that I would kind of grunt when I came in the morning because I was not a morning person. But when I joined law, I started getting up really early. And so basically all my colleagues in law only know me as the early morning person. And I took the opportunity while COVID was happening to give myself a bit of space to, get some rest and recuperate. Going to bed at a normal hour, getting up at a normal hour before work. I was doing things like getting up, making a cup of tea and bringing it back to bed for 20 minutes to properly wake up. So that's probably the thing that I think I've enjoyed about the process. I was lucky enough where I used to work was an entirely virtual law firm. So the process of having to do work virtually wasn't actually a big leap for me. It was quite enjoyable to go back to that style. But yeah, learning to sleep in is probably my COVID takeaway.
Excellent. I really, really appreciate your time, Carrie. That's been Carrie Payne from the Business Depot. Obviously, Meeting the Member. So basically, the Meeting the Member podcast. Thank you very much for that, Carrie, and hope you have a good rest of the week and weekend.
Thanks, Tim. You too.
Okay.